Hello friends, my name is Katie from Eternal Flame, and today I thought I'd share with you a quick flip through of my 2022 expense tracker in my Hobonichi Techo A6 English Planner. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. Thanks everyone. Alright, let's get right into it. So, like I said, this is going to be in my Hobonichi Techo A6 English Planner. This planner is slated specifically for grad school that I will be starting in January of 2022. So the reason I am tracking my expenses in this planner is one, for convenience, because it's very tiny. I don't know if you can see comparative to this pen. I would say comparative to my hands, but I have very tiny hands. So the actual notebook that I'm tracking the expenses in is very portable and easy to throw in my purse and carry with me when I am tracking my daily expenses. But also because one of the main reasons I am tracking my expenses and my savings so closely is so that I can make my payments for school. So if you're interested in seeing the setup video for this planner, I will link that in the card section up above. But for now, we're just going to talk about this little notebook. So it actually came in a set with this cover on cover and the writing board along with two other mini notebooks. So I selected this beautiful yellow one because I felt that it went well with the cover and then also would stand out pretty easily. But I just wanted to show you before we set the planner aside that the A6 notebook is actually slightly smaller than the planner itself. All right, let's get right into it. So if you haven't been tracking your expenses or you've thought about it, started it and stopped, I just want to put out there that I know, at least for me, expense tracking and this type of calculation and evaluation can be rather stressful at first and intimidating. At least it was for me. And I just wanted to let you know that you're not alone. I share those feelings, but at the end of the day, I muscle through it because I know that it's so important. Expense tracking is so important. Knowing where your money is going, how much you're saving on a monthly basis or an annual basis is just great practice, and it's totally worth the time and investment. All right, so let's get into it. Hopefully, I'm definitely not a pro at any of this. This is just what I've learned throughout the years. I've been tracking my expenses since I graduated from college. I was very fortunate that I didn't have to worry too much about expenses and bills until the time I graduated. I was also very fortunate to have a job available and ready for me to start upon graduation. So it was almost like a switch overnight. You know, I moved out, I graduated, moved out, and moved to a different state and had to learn overnight how to, manage my own finances, learn how to save, pay my bills on time, and just keep track of everything. And I will say that I started off on an Excel spreadsheet that I absolutely loved and found extremely beneficial and just so easy to run the formulas and do summations on columns and things. But over the last 2 years, especially with working from home, I've transitioned to a hard copy, pen to paper type method, as I'm going to share with you. So this is what works for me and my family. I'm hoping that maybe you can take away something from this, maybe even if it's just inspiration or some ideas, or maybe you want to share some ideas with me. I would really appreciate that as well. But I am in no way an expert, so please just know that up front. So the first page here I have completely left blank because I plan to take this notebook and expense tracker and sit down with my husband, have a pretty in-depth conversation about how our savings method and our expense tracking last year worked for us and how we can adjust it for 2022. And then after we've kind of run through all the numbers, calculated everything, and done our evaluations, maybe set out some goals for 2022. But this is definitely something that I want to do with my husband, and that's why it is blank here. I would envision one of the goals that we will probably add here, or one of my goals, is to try to eat out less and cook at home more, which might be difficult now that we are transitioning back into the office. So we'll see how that goes. And over here on the left, you'll see this little mason jar that my friend gave me. It's just like a journaling jar. And what I love about this, and what I hate about it as well, is that I think it's adorable. And I had good intentions when I set it up in December of 2020 when I decided to go back to school. But essentially this was supposed to serve as a little mason jar piggy bank. So as you can see, there's two little piggies here, And the idea behind this was to motivate me to save money towards school. So I decided in December of 2022 that for every $1,000 that I set aside for grad school specifically, I would treat myself with one of these Sticky Club piggies. So the sticker sheet came from my Sticky Club advent calendar in 2020. And as you can see, since December of 2020, I have not done a very good job saving for grad school. So while very unfortunate, I was filming my flip through of my Archer and Olive bullet journal the other day, and it fell out of the bullet journal. And I thought that maybe that was a sign to carry this over into my 2022 expense tracker. All right, so this brings us into my first spread. So on the left side, I guess to give you an overall picture, the motivation for this expense tracker, as I had mentioned, is to lay out the payments for grad school and determine how much I need to save each month in order to meet each payment, and or how much I will be short towards the end of the, I guess, degree. So leading up to the, I guess, end of this notebook, I needed to calculate some of the I guess, key components for calculating whether or not I would make those payments. And so, for example, the first thing I wanted to calculate was our monthly income. And the way I plan to do that is to identify the income source here on the left column, and then on the right to indicate what realistically and conservatively after taxes we each individually are able to contribute to this column called monthly income. And then I plan to sum it up down here in the bottom right, and then carry that number down to the bottom right hand corner of each page. I plan to highlight, I guess, the most important number that I've calculated on each spread, so that when I need to reference these numbers in later on, that it's very easy for me to find. So on the right side of the page here, I have titled as fixed expenses, and you can see on this left column of what I consider to be my fixed expenses in a month or in a year as well. So essentially, I'm just gonna name it off. It's my home insurance, our car insurance, our water bills, our gas, electric, phone, internet, and cable bills, our taxes, loans, and our mortgage. And the plan is to sit down with my husband and identify or develop what these numbers may be. So for example, for water and gas and electric bills, I tend to reference the previous year. So for 2022, I would be referencing 2021. And I would be adding all of so for the water bill, because it's quarterly, I would add all 4 quarters up and divide it by 12. So I could determine how much I would technically be setting aside on a monthly basis. All right, and same thing for other fees as well. Anything that is an annual fee, I would just divide by 12. But the goal here is to essentially take my overall monthly income and subtract my fixed expenses in a month. And then I'm left with a small pot of money that would then be divided into savings for school, and then money that I need or that we would use for other things in our budget. So for example, eating out, going out and having fun, and I'll show you that later. So into our next spread, this is where we talk a little bit about how we break that pot of money left over into different things. So on the right side, I have here, it is very specific to myself. However, maybe some of you guys are also looking to go back to school, or you're saving for your kids, or perhaps you're saving for a house, like a down payment on a house or something. And so what I have here is on the left column, I just have the number of payments that I have scheduled, the dates that they're due, the amount that they should be or that they will be, and a check mark to indicate the ones that I've paid, and then the date that they've been paid on the right. So you can really customize these spreads to fit your needs. Please don't. That's what I love about bullet journaling and doing this in a gridded notebook, because it really gives you the flexibility to create any type of spreadsheet that you need, or spread, sorry. On the left side here, it's kind of talking about what I the rest of the money that I would need for our daily activities. And this is actually what I'm going to be tracking on a daily basis and monthly basis from an expense standpoint. So anything that wasn't captured in the fixed expenses falls here. And essentially over the past year or so that I've been doing this, I've played around with a bunch of different categories. I started off with probably 7 to 10 and slowly dwindled my way down to 5. So this year, I think we're going to try to keep it to takeout, groceries, miscellaneous, craft, and fun. To give you an idea of how this will vary based on your needs, in the beginning, I actually had a separate category for BJ's and Costco, and then I realized that it wasn't very beneficial for me, because a lot of times when we go to BJ's and Costco, half of our bill will be allocated towards like pet food, body wash, towels, and then the other half might go towards groceries. So I think for this year, my goal is to take just a few minutes out of my day to kind of add up what went towards groceries and what went towards the other category and separate it out in my monthly expense sheet. And for crafting, I think this was more applicable to the previous year. So this might be crafting / YouTube planner. But last year I was making a lot of baby blankets for my friends, which can get pricey after a while when purchasing fabric. And also I was spending a lot of money on my Etsy shop, which I will now be shutting down due to grad school. So I'm thinking that this category is going to be more for crafting and planning. And then this fun category here is meant to capture anything fun that my husband and I decide to do in a month. So for example, he loves to go and shoot archery, and maybe we'll decide to go out to movies or go hiking, and the park has like a admission fee. So that's where all of those costs should fall under. Right, so that brings us into our next spread. So this one is really interesting. I set this up a couple years ago because I wanted to have a better idea of my seasonal trends when it comes to my utility bills. So on the left, you'll see I have for water bill, and on the right is for gas and electric. And I basically wanted to evaluate also in the beginning of the pandemic, how working from home every day was impacting my utility bills. And I was pleasantly surprised to find that while my bills obviously increased, they didn't increase enough to make working from home not worth it, if that makes sense. So if you've watched my other videos, my commute into work is about 2.5 hours every day round trip, which can be rather taxing, not only on like at the end of the day when you get home you're really tired, but also just the amount of time that you're spending in the car. You could have been, and I have been in the last 1.5 or so, 2 years, spending with your family, you know, cleaning, sleeping, relaxing, cooking, all of those things that I missed out on for most of my life, I would say, my working career life. I was able to gain back and really appreciate during the pandemic. So I guess one of the good things that came out of it. Unfortunately, we're switching back into the office soon. So this spread is actually is going to give me the opportunity to evaluate how that's going to impact my monthly bills once again. So having transitioned from pre-COVID to during COVID, and then now to a hybrid situation where we're working from home maybe like 50% of the time, and see how that will affect our bills. What I also loved about this spread is I am a avid gardener. So if you guys are interested in that, please let me know in the comment section down below, because then maybe I can do a garden tour this summer. I would love to share that with you guys if that's something you're interested in. But what this spread allows me to do is to evaluate in the months of the summer, when I am watering my garden more, how much money am I actually putting into watering my garden, and whether it is something that I should be worried about or not. And I will tell you, based on a very quick glance with my husband, it is really like nothing to worry about when it comes to that. That doesn't mean I'm running my water all the time and watering the plants, but for what the plants need, I think it came out to $10 a month additional for in the summer months, for the amount of like homegrown vegetables, the way they just taste so much better, and it just feels so much better to cook and eat. it was totally worth it. So I do love this spread. Essentially what it is just listing the 12 months in a year here on the left, and then the years that you want to evaluate. So because I have the data from 2019 into 2021, I've included columns for 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. And I actually have room to expand in 2023. And then what I'm going to probably do is to add it all together and just include that in the bottom section down below. And like I said, this allows me the opportunity to be able to take that number and divide it among the 12 months to feed into the calculations for my fixed monthly expenses. So this brings us into my last spread in my expense tracker for January of 2022. And so I've been doing this for the last 2 or so years. And essentially it's very simple. I took that budget spreadsheet or that budget table here and those 5 different expense categories, and I created a column for each of those expenses in that same order, which I actually found to be very helpful when comparing my different months. So that is something I would suggest for you no matter what categories you decide to go with. And on the left here, I just listed the dates in the month of January, and right next to it, the days of the week. And what I love about that is that I can easily reference this without looking at a calendar and say on Friday, I went out to the movies with my husband. So that is where I would put the, I would go to the fun column and then place the amount for the movie theaters there. And it's so funny that I'm using that as an example because we actually don't go to the movies. But I felt that that was the easiest way to explain or like provide an example for that category. And then down below at the end of the month, I like to sum up each column so that I have a better idea of how much money I spent on groceries or crafting, fun, and miscellaneous items. And then finally over here on the right, I have a space, a very large space as you can see, for notes. And what I use this space for is to basically explain where I spent all of the money on these columns to the left. So I like to actually note where we went to eat. So for example, if we went to a fancy restaurant and the bill is a lot higher here, I like to see that over here. Or as opposed to going to maybe Chick-fil-A and Taco Bell, I could write that over here. And what I found in doing this in the past in my A5 bullet journal, my Archer and Olive bullet journal, was that I never gave myself enough space for notes because the days I tend to go out are Saturday and Sunday for the weekend. And while I'm out, we tend to spend money in multiple places or under multiple categories. So for example, we'll go run errands and pick up groceries. We'll also go to BJ's and Costco, so pick up things under the miscellaneous items. Or sorry, miscellaneous column. I might also stop by Joanne because it's out in that direction. And then we might go out for date night and spend money on takeout. So that's why this section is so large. And I don't know if you've also noticed, if you've been watching my other videos, I picked up a pack of grid washi tape from Amazon and color coded it to each month. So I also tried to tie that in here right in the center, and I just used some of that color coded washi tape for January. So hopefully you guys found this video to be enjoyable or helpful, inspirational maybe. And if you did, I would really appreciate it if you guys gave this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I do appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos today, and until next time, bye everyone.